And you all and the Republican caucus rewarded him with one of the most prestigious committee assignments in this Congress. Don't tell me this is about consistency. Don't tell me that this is about a condemnation of anti-Semitic remarks when you have a member of the Republican caucus who has talked about Jewish space lasers and an entire amount of tropes, and also elevated her to some of the highest committee assignments in this body. This is about targeting women of color in the United States of America. Don't tell me, because I didn't get a single apology when my life was threatened. Thank you.
The gentleman from Mississippi is recognized.
Reserve at this time, Madam Speaker.
The gentlewoman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from Massachusetts, Representative Presley.
Madam Speaker, I rise in opposition to the rhetoric and resolution from across the aisle, our colleagues who seek to make history for all the wrong reasons. I rise on behalf of every little girl who sees herself in the leadership of Congresswoman Omar. She is a mother, daughter, refugee, advocate, skilled policymaker, a duly and decisively elected third-term member to the U.S. House of Representatives. I have spent time in the Minnesota 5th. I have seen her pull her community through grief and loss. I have seen her stand arm in arm on picket lines with our educators and our nurses. I have seen her pass historic legislation to feed our babies in our schools. She has built coalitions, given constituents in crisis a sense of agency, and centered to most marginalized in word and deed. No matter how embattled, no matter how racially profiled, no matter how targeted, she has pressed on for peace over militarization, human rights at home and abroad, a world where an education is a fundamental right, where gender equity is recognized. I want to live in that world. Let me make it plain.
The gentlewoman's time is expired.
Ilhan Omar is right where she belongs.
The gentlewoman's time is expired.
Is needed on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Her clarity, conviction,
the gentlewoman's time is expired, and she is no longer recognized. The gentleman from Mississippi.
Madam Speaker, at this time I yield 1 minute to my friend from the great state of Florida, Mr. Jimenez.
The gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Anti-Semitism has no place on the Foreign Affairs Committee. I say it again. Anti-Semitism has no place on the Foreign Affairs Committee. That's why Representative Omar has no place specifically on the Foreign Affairs Committee, where Israel's security is one of the issues of critical importance. Without a doubt, the democratic Jewish state of Israel is America's strongest ally in the Middle East and has a fundamental right to exist. Representative Omar has repeated anti-Semitic canards and perpetuated hateful tropes against the Jewish community, and her comments have compromised the ability of the House Foreign Affairs Committee to conduct its official business. I urge my colleagues to vote in the affirmative to remove Representative Ilhan Omar from the Foreign Affairs Committee. Thank you, and I yield back.
All right, the gentleman from Mississippi is reserved, and the gentlewoman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from Missouri, Representative Bush.
The gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
St. Louis and I rise in support of Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. I've been to her district. I've spoken with her constituents. We visited marginalized communities globally together. This institution is better because of her leadership, and the Foreign Affairs Committee benefits from her perspective. So let's talk about what's really happening. Republicans are waging a blatantly Islamophobic and racist attack on Congresswoman Omar. And I've said it before, I will say it again. The white supremacy happening is unbelievable. This is despicable. It is Congresswoman Omar who has been harassed at her job for simply existing as a Muslim woman in Congress. It is she who has been attacked by a member of this body, ridiculing her as a potential terrorist for simply existing as a Muslim woman in this Congress. So rather than bring an actual accountability, any accountability to Congress, they bring this offensive resolution to the floor. This is just a bunch of racist gaslighting. We all know it. Vote no.
The gentlewoman from Pennsylvania reserves, and the gentleman from Mississippi is recognized.
We reserve at this time.
The gentlewoman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from California, Representative Swalwell.
The gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Madam Speaker, when I heard that we're going to remove a member of this House from their committee for anti-Semitism, I raced down here because I thought, finally, in this chamber, there's going to be some accountability from this conference that continues to allow its members to root for rioters, to show sympathy for the insurrection, a conference that harbors a wanted international criminal and has members who choose violence over voting every single day, finally. And so I thought, we're going to hold someone accountable for anti-Semitism. Surely it's the author of this tweet. Kanye, Elon, Trump, October 6th, written by Chairman Jim Jordan. October 8th, what does Kanye say? I'm going to declare DEFCON 3 on the Jews. So surely this tweet came down, right? Came down, was deleted. No, 2 more months it was kept up. 2 more months. So don't come here looking at us for anti-Semitism. Look in your own damn mirror before you ever come over here. And I yield back.
The gentlewoman from Pennsylvania reserves, and the gentleman from Mississippi is recognized.
I reserve, Madam Speaker.
Okay, the woman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
How much time do we have left?
10.25 minutes.
I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from Washington State, Representative Jayapal.
And the representative is recognized for 1 minute.
Madam Speaker, this is a revenge resolution that seeks to remove Representative Ilhan Omar's strong and necessary voice from the Foreign Affairs Committee. It is an attempt to silence her simply because you do not agree with her views and you cannot begin to understand her lived experience. Her lived experience as a war survivor, as a refugee, as somebody who brings an experience to this body that you're not even trying to understand. We have previously voted in a bipartisan manner to remove individuals from their committee assignments because of their violent actions that endangered the safety of their colleagues. That is not what today is about. Today is about revenge. It is also about the fact that Republicans want to distract the American people from the fact that they have absolutely no legislation to bring to the floor that is actually about helping the American people with their costs, with dealing with inflation. You don't have any solutions, so you're trying to distract with these inane,
Gentlewoman's time has expired.
Absurd, absolutely absurd resolutions. Vote no.
Remind members to direct their remarks to the chair, and the gentlewoman from Pennsylvania reserves, and the gentleman from Mississippi is recognized.
I reserve as well at this time.
The gentlewoman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from California, Representative Schiff.
And the gentleman from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Madam Speaker, I rise in strong opposition to this resolution. First, as to the false pretext, 2 members of the Republican conference were removed from committees for inciting violence, encouraging violence against their colleagues. There is nothing at all at issue like that here. You want to introduce a resolution to condemn someone for inciting violence against their colleagues or against people here in Congress? Introduce a resolution against Donald J. Trump. No one has incited more violence against this chamber than Donald Trump. Now, let me talk about anti-Semitism. Do not insult our intelligence by suggesting this is about anti-Semitism. You want to introduce a resolution against someone guilty of anti-Semitism? Introduce a resolution against someone dining with anti-Semites, someone dining with white nationalists, members of your conference who are speaking at white nationalist rallies. Introduce a resolution against Donald J. Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Paul Gosar, and others, but do not
the gentleman's time has
insult our
expired.
Intelligence by saying this is about anti-Semitism.
The gentleman's time
Vote
has
no on this
expired.
resolution.
The woman from Pennsylvania reserves. The gentleman from Mississippi is recognized.
I reserve.
The gentlewoman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Wisconsin, Representative Pocan.
And the gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized for 1 minute.
This is a new low. The majority party uplifts and seats on committees a member who has a history of pathological lying, but wants to remove someone who even Republican members of Congress admit is a talented member of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Want to oust people for what they've said? How about a member of the majority party who said that Jewish space lasers set forest fires in California? No, she's seated on a committee. Multiple Republican members have said prominent Jewish Democrats essentially bought control of Congress, but they're not only given full congressional privileges, but you elect them to GOP leadership. Republicans only draw the line when an incredibly productive member of a committee says something that she's apologized for. That doesn't add up. This clearly isn't about what Ilhan Omar said as much as who she is. Being a smart, outspoken black woman of a Muslim faith is apparently the issue. And some Republicans can't handle it, so they're going to kick her off the committee. Unbelievable bigotry. Shame on you. I yield back.
The woman from Pennsylvania, reserves. The gentleman from Mississippi is recognized.
At this time, we reserve, Madam Speaker.
They both reserve on what?
I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from Illinois, Representative Schakowsky. No? Come on.
The representative is recognized for 1 minute.
We didn't tell her. No. Does that count against us?
My colleagues, I stand before you as a proud Jew and a proud friend and colleague of Ilhan Omar. I don't need any of you to defend me against anti-Semitism. My friend Ilhan Omar, we have worked together to the values that I treasure as an American Jew and that she treasures as an American member of the Islamic woman, the only one on the Foreign Affairs Committee. That is the third largest religion in the world, and we in the United States of America. I am just furious. We have seen all kinds of anti-Semitism from the other side of the aisle. And as Americans, we should be.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
Vote no on this. We need
the gentlewoman's time has expired.
As Americans and me as a Jew.
The gentlewoman from Pennsylvania reserves. The gentleman from Mississippi is recognized.
Madam Speaker, we reserve at this time.
The gentlewoman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from Michigan, Representative Tlaib.
The gentlewoman from Michigan is recognized for 1 minute.
Desperation. So desperate to distract the American people from their total inability to govern. The GOP is now doing what it is best at, weaponizing hate against a black, beautiful Muslim woman. Congresswoman Omar's lived experience as a refugee and a child of survivor of war should be welcomed on this committee. It is needed. When you can't pass any bills that actually improve the people's lives, they turn to Congress. They turn Congress into a place of fear-mongering hate. It is so painful to watch. How ironic that the so-called lovers of personal freedom are now moving to censor Congresswoman Omar in the same week they introduced a bill to ban federal employees from engaging in censorship. Where are the free speech warriors today? The hypocrisy is obvious to the American people. You are showing who you all are, really.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
Omar will not be silenced.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
To Congresswoman Omar, I am so sorry, sis, that our country is failing you today through this chamber. You belong
The gentlewoman is no longer recognized, and the gentleman from Mississippi is recognized.
Madam Speaker, I reserve.
Gentlewoman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
How much time do I have?
5 1/4 minutes.
I yield to the gentlewoman from Minnesota, Representative Omar, to close.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
This debate today, it's about who gets to be an American. What opinions do we have to be counted as Americans? This is what this debate is about, Madam Speaker. There is this idea that you are a suspect if you are an immigrant, or if you are from certain parts of the world, or a certain skin tone, or a Muslim. It is no accident that members of the Republican Party accused the first black president, Barack Obama, of being a secret Muslim. It is no accident that former President Donald Trump led a birther movement that falsely claimed he was born in Kenya. Because to them, falsely labeling the first and only President of the United States of America a Muslim and African immigrant somehow made him less American. Well, I am Muslim. I am an immigrant, and interestingly, from Africa. Is anyone surprised that I am being targeted? Is anyone surprised that I am somehow deemed unworthy to speak about American foreign policy? Or that they see me as a powerful voice that needs to be silenced? Frankly, it is expected, because when you push power, power pushes back. Representation matters. Continuing to expand our ideas of who is American and who can partake in the American experiment is a good thing. I am an American who was sent here, by her constituents to represent them in Congress, a refugee who survived the horrors of a civil war, someone who spent her childhood in a refugee camp, someone who knows what it means to have a shot at a better life here in the United States, and someone who believes in the American dream and the American possibility and the promise and the ability to participate in the democratic process. That is what this debate is about. There is an idea out there that I do not have objective decision making because of who I am, where I come from, and my perspective. But I reject that. We say there is nothing objective about policy making. We all inject our perspective, our point of views, our lived experiences, and the voices of our constituents. That's what democracy is about. So what is the work of the Foreign Affairs Committee? It is not to co-sign the stated foreign policy of whatever administration is in power. It's about oversight. It's to critique and to advocate for a better path forward. But most importantly, it is to make the myth that American foreign policy is intrinsically moral a reality. So I will continue to speak up because representation matters. I will continue to speak up for little kids who wonder who's speaking up for them. I will continue to speak up for families around the world who are seeking justice. Whether they are displaced in refugee camps or they are hiding under their beds somewhere like I was, waiting for the bullets to stop. Because this child, survivor of war, would have wanted that. The 9-year-old me would be disappointed if I didn't talk about the victims of conflict, those that are experiencing unjust wars, atrocities, ethnic cleansing, occupation, or displacement like I did. They are looking to the international community and the United States, asking for help. They look to us because the international community and the United States profess the values of protecting human rights and upholding international law. So we owe it to them not to make this a myth, but a reality. I didn't come to Congress to be silent. I came to Congress to be their voice. And my leadership and voice will not be diminished if I am not on this committee for one term. My voice will get louder and stronger, and my leadership will be celebrated around the world as it has been. So take your vote or not. I am here to stay, and I am here to be a voice against harms around the world and advocate for a better world. I yield back.
Okay, the gentleman from Mississippi is recognized. The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield myself the balance of my time. In closing, I want to adopt the comments that were made by then Chairman of Foreign Affairs, Eliot Engel. In late February 2019, Chairman of Foreign Affairs Engel, after a third anti-Semitic statement in just over 2 weeks, 17 days to be exact, then Chairman Engel said these words: "It is unacceptable and deeply offensive to call into question the loyalty of fellow American citizens based on their political views, including support for the U.S.-Israel relationship. We all take the same oath." Worst, Representative Omar's comments leveled that charge by invoking a vile anti-Semitic slur. Chairman Engel went on to say that such comments have no place in the Foreign Affairs Committee or the House of Representatives. I agree with the statements made by Chairman Engel. Not only do Representative Omar's comments have no place in the Foreign Affairs Committee, I hold that anyone who makes such statements have no place serving on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And I ask all members to support this resolution removing Ms. Omar from the Committee on Foreign Affairs. And I yield back.
All right, the gentleman yields back. All time for debate.
And that voting is underway right now. This all coming as House Republicans have argued that Representative Omar should not be on the Foreign Affairs Committee in light of past statements she has made related to Israel that have sparked controversy and in some cases been criticized by members of both parties as anti-Semitic. In 2019, Omar issued a public apology after she faced a backlash for tweets condemned on both sides of the aisle. The apology came after the Minnesota Democrat faced widespread criticism after suggesting Republican support of Israel is fueled by donations from the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, a prominent pro-Israel group. And there have been other instances as well in the past, and also equating the U.S. and Israel to the Taliban. You're watching Live Now from Fox, everyone. What we are going to do is take a quick 2-minute break. Stay right here with us. This is the live voting right now of the issue to get Representative Omar off